Dr. Rob, you okay, man? Because we're worried about you. Owen and I are really, really worried about you.
What are you guys worried about?
Because we're going through the social media stuff. You've got the 1994 national championship team. You guys do the tunnel walk. They introduce you. You come out on the field. Everybody's running. And here comes this slow, just lug of lumber just walking. You're just walking. I mean, everybody else is celebrating, getting their hands up in the air. They're sprinting. And Rob's like, I'm not getting hit by a trombone again. I'm just not going to get hit by a trombone again.
Did you see I had a tweet out there about, if you look on that video, because there is video of us running out onto the field, and I'm one of the first guys out. Got my G-Defies on.
You had the G-Defies on,
the G-Defies on, and I even tweeted that I tagged them.
Nice.
I'm out there in my G-Defies. It's one of those things where
you're like, you're taking it all in.
Okay, you got that. Thank you, right there. You've got to understand it's a cool experience to be able to have done that as a player. And I've done it now 2 or 3 times, twice now, I guess it is, since my playing days. And it was at the 20-year reunion in 2020 or 2014.
Yeah.
20-year reunion 2014 against Miami and Lincoln.
Who was the guy in the scooter? There was a guy in a scooter.
It was one of the younger guys on the team. I didn't know him very well. I've been asked that by several people, and it's not somebody that I was super close with. But it was somebody that was far younger than me on the team that I didn't know that well.
Because they probably invited everybody back. Walk-ons, people. I mean, just, yeah.
If you were on the team at all, if you were on the staff at all, you were invited back.
You got some sweet gear out of it. I like that quarter zip, man. That's kick-ass.
It's a good-looking quarter zip.
It's a replica of your ring, right? Because you wore the ring tonight.
I got the ring.
You never wear the ring, so that's a big deal.
It's like, well, okay, I always used to think this, I can't even get, fingers get arthritic. I got to go pinky finger now. It's a damn paperweight. Now, do you know what's crazy is that the rings you see the guys get now is twice this size. We thought these were huge.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's a pretty good, that's a big ring.
It's wearable.
That's the key, right? That's a wearable ring.
It's wearable. You go much bigger, you ain't wearing it. Because I know I met a couple of guys who were on, it was one of the Astros World Series teams that won. And so they've got the World Series ring. I mean, it's this big around. The top opens up, and the inside of the ring is a replica of the inside of the Astro Stadium in Houston.
Minute Maid Field?
Yeah. All the seats are diamond studs.
Oh, that's kick-ass.
So there's like 1,000 little teeny tiny, like, I don't know what, like 1/10 of a carat diamond studs lining the inside of it like the inside of a stadium. And it's something like the 10 longest home runs that were hit in the stadium that year are like a 10th carat little ruby. So there's these little red rubies scattered throughout on the, I mean, it's just the stuff they're coming up with for these rings. Now, they're cooler than hell. I mean, if you're into that stuff, these things are mind-blowing. It's not like you wear that stuff out. I mean, as I'm drinking a beer, the top of the ring, it's as big as the top of this beer can. So it's like this big around on the top of your fingers. Well, you don't wear it.
It's funny you said it. And Owen noticed this the last time he was here. There might be 1 or 2 Kansas City Chief replica Super Bowl rings floating around this place, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, that thing's gaudy. I mean, it's gigantic.
Yeah. So the pro rings they're coming out with now, I mean, essentially they're desktop or tabletop pieces. You don't wear them.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like,
that's like a class ring in high school.
That's nicer.
It's nicer than that. But what I'm saying is, okay, that I didn't mean it to be an insult, but it's wearable.
Which honestly, who wears their high school class ring?
My wife is so pissed at me for losing my class ring. because she thought I had a really unique one. I got it at Jostens, I believe.
Yeah.
It was really unique at the time, and I have no idea where it's at. I have no clue where my high school class ring is. I still have my high school letter jacket, but I don't have my high school, which I might be able to fit into now. I should try that on when I get home.
See, I'm one of these guys that it's sort of, I mean, I got my high school stuff, and it's sort of just I don't know, once you get out of high school, college, totally legit. Wear that stuff for life.
Okay, I just had my 35-year high school reunion. I think 14 of the 59 showed up. Is when your 94 team gets together, is that like a high school reunion? Is it much different? Or like you said, there's guys you didn't know, there's guys you do know. Do you kind of drift off in the cliques you were in?
There's a little bit of that, but on the flip side, everybody kind of tries to say hi to everybody.
Okay.
I mean, so the O-line guys, you say hi to the O-line guys. There is kind of a consistent group that does come back to the reunions. And so it's kind of nice seeing those guys who come back because there's a little continuity there. I mean, there's a few guys that we haven't seen since 94.
Yeah.
But you've got this core group that it's kind of cool to see those guys.
And then Frank was there yesterday. I talked to Frank on Thursday. I emceed an event which Frank was honored at Holy Name High School. Remember, his first job was at Holy Name High School in Omaha. Him and Pam got married at Holy Name. They put me at Frank's table, and it was just a really good conversation. We were trying to work the logistics of getting him on the podcast. It just hasn't worked out. I'm still crossing my fingers, but he was in a good mood. I'm going to ask you a question. Maybe I told you this already because I learned something about Frank Solich that night I did not know. And if you're all wondering if we're going to get to the Colorado game, we're going to get to the Colorado game. Don't panic yet, okay? Here's something I learned about Frank Solich I didn't know.
Hold on. Nebraska won. We can relax a little bit.
You can relax.
Here.
Not only did they win, I was right last week. They kicked their butt. I was right.
I was right and wrong. There were things I was right about. There's things I was wrong about.
Okay, we'll get back to
there.
That. If I were to ask you what career Frank Solich was going to be if he didn't go into coaching, what would you say?
I suppose I would have said a high school teacher, but that's not it.
He was going to be an FBI agent.
No clue. Did not know that.
And he revealed that on stage. He goes, my two best friends in college went on to be FBI agents. That's where I was going to go. He's like, I don't have a personality. And I don't. Well, he meant like a sense of humor.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm dry.
A little bit. I always thought. I mean, if you sit and talk with him, he's a great guy.
Yes, but once he said FBI agent, I'm like, oh, you would have been a great FBI agent.
Yeah, he would have been really good.
Yeah. So and I've said this before. I think I've said it on the podcast. The loudest, and I haven't been. I don't cover Nebraska anymore like I did when I was on television, but I came in the 94 season. I left in the 2010 season. And I've said this time and time again. The loudest I ever heard Memorial Stadium was the 94 Colorado game. I'm hearing reports that last night may have been right up there.
That was loud. It was rock concert level loud. And it's crowd noise. It's not music. It's not anything else. It's not pyrotechnics. That was loud.
Well, Will Compton had a little bit to play with that too. He did
and Will did the hype video, and he's good at that stuff. And Nebraska fans, I mean, he and Taylor Luan got a great thing going with Bussin' with the Boys, and they're great. Taylor was there. I met Taylor. You took a
selfie with him.
He's an O-lineman. Guy was a hell of a tackle. College and NFL.
Because he's not in the NFL anymore, right?
He's retired now.
Okay.
I mean, he's maybe, if you see him now, he's maybe 240, 250 pounds. I mean, the guy's a legit 6'7". Like, I'm standing next to him. I'm 6'5" on a good day if I get a good night's sleep. He's 2 inches taller than I am.
Wow. I know
he looks slender. But now, I say that. Guy's in great shape, but he was a hell of an NFL offensive tackle.
I know somebody said, hey, you guys need to get the Bussin' Boys on the podcast. Well, that would be an ideal. I'd love to have them on, but here's the deal. Rob and I don't do Zoom interviews. I think that's, I just don't want to do Zoom interviews. We find that when we talk to people, if they're in the same room with us, you get much better answers. You can have much better conversation. So we've just kind of make it a blanket policy that if you want to be on the podcast, you got to come in, and that's kept some people from coming on the podcast, and I understand it.
Well, and it's not that people don't want to do it. It's a pure logistics.
It is. It is. So if you have, go ahead.
But no, that was one of the louder experiences I have had in that stadium, which probably one of the loudest. Was it 2009 where Alex Henry hit the 57-yard field goal, and then Zach Potter tipped the pass.
Yeah.
Sue intercepted, ran it into the touchdown. That was we're talking sensory-numbingly loud, that game.
But it was such a physical game yesterday. And just watching, I'm like, I can't imagine, you combine the crowd, especially in the first half, and there's just the physical, I hate this word, but I'm using the physicality on both teams.
It's a word. I use it. Yeah. It's a word.
So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure to take time. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button right now. It's very, very simple. We had, the channel grew a lot over the last week, which was really, really cool. If you don't watch on video and you listen on the audio portion, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, also on Podbean, which is our host. We'd love to have you along because the more people that follow this, the better. However, YouTube's kind of where it's at, right? And that's why we want that YouTube channel to grow. Here's what I learned.
That's where we're pulling the Colorado fans.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If I learned one thing about YouTube last week, Colorado fans talk shit. Oh, my God. They talk so much shit.
I'm kind of ready to just move on
because
it's one of those. As much as I love the whole pulling out receipts game, at this point it's just like, good Lord, it's just let's just move on. You guys just go do your thing and embrace your world of Dion, and we're gonna go do our thing, and everybody will be happy.
Before we dive in, because somebody just pulled out a receipt on Facebook, and I tend not to chime in very much, but somebody goes, "Yeah, Dion says we've arrived, but we go 4-8, and then you get blown out with your biggest rival," and everybody's chiming in. Yeah. I said, yeah, kind of like how Scott Frost said the Big Ten defenses will have to adjust to the Nebraska offense.
There's a lot of.
I said, don't throw stones, man. Don't throw stones.
And that's the dynamic here, is that you've got a Nebraska team that's been down for so long. We've been relevant in certain ways. There's fan interest. There's media interest. There's definitely monetary interest. We just haven't been in the win column.
No.
It's kind of the big thing. And so I'm very optimistic about this team now. I've tried to maintain a little bit of temperance here when it comes to the optimism.
But this was a step in the right direction.
But it was a big step, and I'm excited about it. And being able to beat Colorado was a big, big step for them. It was a mental hurdle. I mean, you think about... It's not that it's just Colorado. So I guess I'm thinking about a lot of these games that Nebraska's been in that I would consider high-pressure games. God, if you guys win this game, it'd be great. If you guys win this game, it'd be a feather in the coach's cap. If you guys win this game, it's a building block. It's a stepping stone in the right direction. Every time Nebraska's had one of those games over the last, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years, it's almost like they succumb to the pressure and lose. About the only time I've seen them pull one of those games out was Iowa 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And and ultimately it really didn't affect anything in terms of Nebraska's season. It was a feel-good win for Nebraska.
They needed that win. They needed it to feel like you've taken one extra step.
You mean this Colorado win?
This Colorado
yes.
win.
This was one of those games where it's not that you beat Colorado. It's the fact that you had this psychological hurdle. You had this mental hurdle that you had to get over, and it didn't matter who the opponent was. They needed a mental hurdle opponent type of win, and they got it.
You know where else the mental hurdle comes in? Not just the win. No turnovers. No turnovers yesterday.
That was a big one. The penalties are a problem because I consider turnovers and penalties. Penalties are turnover adjacent. How's that?
Okay.
They affect things poorly. Big mental breakdowns on special teams, for instance. Those are turnover adjacent. You get 2 or 3 big penalties, which Nebraska had
12 penalties for 105 yards.
Oh man, most of that in the second half. And then some of them were score changing. It wasn't game changing, but Nebraska, because of penalties, I mean, when I went back and looked at it, my conservative count was 14 points that they left on the field.
They should have been up 35-0 at half, right? They were up 28-0. They should have been up 35-0, I thought.
Maybe 35-0. Definitely should have scored. I thought, I say 14 points. It was 10 for sure. 100% they lost 10 points on penalties. So there's 38 points right there. God, all of a sudden you move to like 38-10, and all of a sudden it goes from, you guys weren't even close to, oh my God, that was a complete blowout.
Do you think, and I'm saying this in a respectful way, and I'm not saying you coached this, but don't you think the chippiness of that, you were willing to sacrifice those penalties to send a message? Like it was a hard hitting game.
I was probably more than comfortable with the targeting on Shadur. He takes off running. He's going down. You're going in to make a hit. You're going to hit that guy.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying about, you know what, you're going to take it. You're going to take a chance because you want to send a message. You want to kick him in the nuts.
That was the one big send the message penalty. There was multiple block in the back and holding penalties that, I mean, some of these were a little ticky-tack, but I saw what the rest were looking at, and it was a Big 12 crew. I know everybody's down.
Well,
including Rule.
The last thing you can do as an officiating crew is let it get out of hand, right? I mean, you're going to be probably throwing the flag more just to keep the peace.
I agree. If you anything, you're going to throw that flag. There was a couple of former Nebraska players who are now Big Ten officials. I'm not going to say their name just because I don't want people calling them out later in the season. But I was hanging out and talking with them, and we're looking at the screen. We're looking at the replay of these penalties. And I'm talking about the ones there in the second half where scores are getting called back from.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there telling me, he's like, would I have thrown that flag? He goes, maybe, maybe not. Depends on the situation in the game. But he said, I see what the guy called. I see what he threw the flag at. And technically that's a penalty.
And that shows you how subjective officiating is. Not every official is going to make the same call.
And it is. And I think, two things. Number one, the situation, the game situation does play into this. Where it happens on the field, I mean, if you've got a penalty where you've got a block in the back 10, 15, 20 yards behind the play that's not affecting the play, and say it's a long touchdown run or touchdown pass, okay, that block in the back that happened 10 yards behind the play is not affecting the play in any way, shape, or form. That hold that takes place 10 yards behind the play does not affect the play in any way, shape, or form. Is it still technically a penalty? Yes. And here's the other thing that you got to keep in mind. Those officials get downgraded on it if they don't call it. These guys are getting graded on everything. So if they don't make the call, they will get downgraded even if it's a subjective call. So I got to be honest, I really don't fault them for that. I mean, I'm sitting there next to a Big Ten official. We're watching Big 12 officials, and the Big Ten guy is looking at the exact same play. We're watching it on the big screen. We're watching it on the replay, and he's telling me, he goes, technically that's a penalty. Would I have called it? Maybe, maybe not. But technically that's a penalty. So I don't fault the officials for those penalties that they called in the second half of the game. Were there a lot? Yes. Is that stuff that it's ultimately going to be up to Nebraska to clean up? Yes, it is. And it's the three things I harped on under Mike Riley, under Scott Frost: penalties, turnovers, special teams mistakes. Those are things that got to get cleaned up if you're going to win games, really, really meaningful games. And I'm talking about games against Ohio State. I'm talking about conference title games. I'm talking about games that affect whether or not you potentially make the playoff.
I'm telling you what, I'm not going to I know I'm putting the cart before the horse. I think Nebraska is going to be in the playoff conversation. Not saying they're going to get there. I think they're going to be in the playoff conversation.
Had him in his article on The Athletic today.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
He said Notre Dame's out, Nebraska's in, which I think that's a huge jump. Nebraska's got a lot of games to play.
Notre Dame went from 5th down to 18th. Yeah. Marcus Freeman might have cost Marcus Freeman his job yesterday. Seriously. You lose at home after going on the road to Texas A&M, and you lose at home to Northern Illinois. You can't do that if you're Notre Dame.
It's got some Nebraska guys on that Northern Illinois team.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
One of my son's high school teammates, Cade Haberman, blocked 2 field goals in that.
And you said today on Twitter that you thought that Scott Frost missed on him. You thought he would have been able to play in Nebraska.
He's a guy that's been playing. He's a 4-year guy. They never redshirted him. They had him on the field as a true freshman right off the bat. Opening game his freshman year, he forced and recovered a fumble that, I don't know if you remember, Northern Illinois knocked off Georgia Tech in Atlanta. God, that was 3 years ago. 2021 season. Cade forced the fumble, recovered it, secured the win for Northern Illinois. They upset Georgia Tech. He's been making plays like that for 4 years.
Northern Illinois into the top 25, coming to number 25 this week because they improved to 2-0. Let's start with the defensive line and the defense because they had 4 sacks in the first half. 4 sacks, ended up with 6 for minus 41 yards. They got the Shedeur Sanders, man.
They did. I knew Nebraska would be able to at least get pressure on them because if you watch that North Dakota game, those guys were in the backfield chasing Shedeur all night. I knew Nebraska would be able to get that pressure. The question is Shedeur going to be mobile enough to avoid the sack? And he wasn't. Well, I shouldn't say he wasn't mobile enough. He's a mobile guy. They just got to him because they're good enough to get to him. That was one of the areas of the game that I thought was truly
dominant.
Yeah, it was truly dominant, but that was one of those things going into the game. You're sitting there going, okay, I know Nebraska's D-line is going to chew up this offensive line. The question is Shedeur athletic enough? Does he have guys who are going to get open that he's going to get flush, he's going to scramble and make a couple of big plays in the course of the game that keeps them in the game? That did not happen. And so the thing that was maybe a little surprising to me, I knew Nebraska was going to get into the backfield. I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to get because there's a difference between getting pressure on a quarterback versus actually getting sacks. Those are two different things.
True.
Pressure's great. Sacks are way better. Nebraska got the sacks. That was 6 sacks.
They had no answer for him. I mean, Deion's like, they got to fix your O-line. Shedeur threw his O-line under the bus.
Did you see that interview?
Yeah, not good.
They did that, and it wasn't so much Shedeur as much as it was Deion last year who threw the O-line under the bus. That was towards the end of the season, and it was a rough end of the season. How do you keep how do you keep a team dynamic together?
You don't, because you just rebuild a team every year. That's what he's doing.
But I mean, even within the course of a season, I'm sitting here and I don't know how they function as a unit. How do you go to meetings and a day and a half later, look at Shadur in the face and say like, hey, I got your back this week? Because there's guys that I did not necessarily get along with all that well. There's people that I played football with
that you didn't like.
That I didn't like them as people.
You liked them as teammates.
But God damn it, I had your back on the field. Now, here's the thing.
I mean, let's be honest.
Here's the thing.
Tommy wasn't the most popular guy in the world, but people went to battle for him.
Yeah, but I mean, Tommy went to battle for us.
Yes. As long as that takes place, you can keep your personal shit personal.
I don't care if you're my best friend off the field or not. If you're going to go to battle for me, I'm going to fight for you. Shadur's not going to battle for his guys. There was games I played in where we did not necessarily have a great game up front. I mean, 93, 94 we did, but I'm talking maybe 91, 92 particular games. The game would end, we'd go into the locker room, those guys would get in front of a camera, and you had these fifth-year senior running backs and quarterbacks saying, hey, you know what? Our line was out there battling their asses off. It just, God, we just hit a really good team. And you know what? I got to get rid of the ball a little bit earlier, and I got to make my reads a little bit quicker. And I'm really happy that I got these big guys behind me supporting me. Nobody ever threw us under the bus.
If he does that in the NFL, he's going to get his ass kicked.
Dude, it doesn't go well. I've been on teams where I've seen that dynamic happen, and it's not pretty.
So when it comes to this is totally off the wall.
I don't know how it's working in Boulder there, and I'm shocked that at this point, over a year into this, where we've seen this dynamic continually, how the hell are these guys still functioning as a team?
They're not. They're not.
They can't be.
And we've seen it. I would be surprised if Deion Sanders returns next year. I would
be shocked if he comes, because both Shiloh and Peter are gone.
And Travis Hunter is gone. Does he want to sit there and not coach his kids? That's where I actually feel sorry for Colorado and Colorado fans, because he came in, did all this stuff. All these players are going to leave, and then they're going to have to totally start over again.
I'm bringing Louis.
Yeah, which was a great comment. It was funny.
No, it wasn't.
I laughed.
I did not. It was fucking bullshit. What the hell?
I laughed at it.
I thought like, I heard that, and all I could think to myself was like, okay, right there. This is a guy that I would never, ever have my kid go play for.
So Nebraska gets 6 total sacks for a loss of 41 yards. This is just a statistical question for you. Do you think sack yardage loss should count against rushing yards? Because I don't, because Colorado gets 16 yards rushing, and it's a little disingenuous.
I totally get that, and I think it is kind of a weird statistic that, you're dropping back to pass and you get sacked, and it goes against
the rushing yards. You should almost have just a separate category that says yards lost because of sack or tackle for loss.
Yeah, I could give it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably do something like that. It is kind of interesting, though, that they have that. I always felt bad for the O-line, because you'd see that number and you get a sack and you're just like, really, that counts against us?
You're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were tackles for losses. There were Nebraska's defense on 3rd and short, 4th and short was amazing. You had the 4th down stops that were big. You had the couple of field goal attempts they didn't make. I thought one of them did, in fact, get blocked. I thought Ty Robinson got a hand on one.
One of the surprises to me, and I don't know if you were surprised, I was, and that is the total offensive yards for Nebraska was 334.
It's okay. It's not mind-blowingly great, but it's okay.
Yeah. Net rushing yards, 105. You look at the first half, and they were running the football so well. There were some big holes. I just looked at the end. One of the problems that I could see here, if I'm going to take a negative out of this game, it's third down conversions. They were 3 of 12. That's not great. I mean, that's probably the negative I can find.
It's not. On the flip side, if you look at the total first downs, Nebraska versus Colorado on the first downs, Nebraska did outstanding.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where they were lining up on first down and getting another first down. They're lining up on second down, getting a first down. They moved the ball a lot without having to make that third down conversion, which is huge.
Yeah.
The other thing, I mean, you talk about surprises in the game. The thing that was surprising to me, and this probably goes back to like Tommy Hill's coverage on Travis Hunter. I truly thought Colorado was going to get their big chunks. They were going to get those chunk plays. Shedur's athletic as all heck. You got Travis Hunter, you got Jimmy Horn Jr., you've got a couple of these guys who are just absolutely phenomenal athletes. I was convinced in my own mind that they were going to get 2, maybe 3 huge chunk plays, likely scoring plays. Because that's what they've done against damn near everybody, whether they win or lose. It's these 60-yard touchdown passes. Yeah. It's these...
Didn't happen.
Yeah, it's these passes where you hit Travis or Jimmy Horn, and they go 60, 70, 80 yards for a touchdown.
I mean, the longest completed pass by Shedeur Sanders was 30 yards.
Yep.
Travis Hunter had a 28-yarder.
Yep. It just, he was a non-factor. He'll shut him down. I mean, that was an absolute game changer. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here going like, oh, my God, we've got some absolute stars on this team. And I'm not sure their names are out there yet as stars, but, God, these guys are good. But I thought it was interesting because the one thing that I thought Colorado would do would get that 1, 2, maybe 3 big offensive plays, and it just not quite ever happened. And then you get into the second half, and Nebraska's defense really kind of turned Colorado. I mean, Colorado got their yards. They scored 10 points, but they got their yards. And the thing that was interesting to me is Nebraska kind of turned them into this grinded-out offense in the second half, and they're just not built for that. They're not built to go 85 yards and then finally score a touchdown. That is just not how that offense is built.
And that's why I don't like the sack numbers, because you take away the 41 yards, that puts Colorado at a net 260. They would have been over 300 if you don't count that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, all of that came on these long, drawn-out, grinded-out drives that just don't fit into Colorado's game plan.
Yeah. They were out of sort. I think the crowd. I think the crowd. You know, Texas A&M talks about its 12th man. Nebraska had a 12th man yesterday.
They did, and that was something that honestly, I mean, when I was in high school going to games back then in the 80s, so you always talk about how loud that stadium can get. Man, one of the loudest games I ever went to, Oklahoma State, 1988. It was Barry Sanders. He was a junior that year, fourth-year junior. It was the year Barry won the Heisman, went pro after that season. The refs called a timeout when Oklahoma State was on offense, which this is like, that would have been Mike Gundy at quarterback.
Yeah, it would have been.
It was Mike Gundy at quarterback. You had Hartley Dykes at wide receiver. Barry Sanders had just taken over for Thurman Thomas at running back. You had Lincoln East grad Mike Zenick at center. It was one of these. It was one of those games that you wouldn't think about it. The refs called a timeout to quiet the Nebraska crowd down.
Please be quiet so they can call an offensive play.
They did, and I remember everybody in the stands was like, wait a second, when did this become a rule? That we were, like, the crowd can't be too loud all of a sudden? It was the weirdest thing ever. And it was Big 8 refs. It was a Big 8 game. I still I'm 35 years later, I'm still trying to figure that one out. No, the crowd was a factor. The thing that really shocked me was how well Nebraska's defense forced Colorado's offense into this slow it down, grind it out, chip away style of offense that they're completely not built for. And it worked. And that was just something that I didn't expect to see.
Dylan Raiola, 23 of 30, so efficient, 185 yards, 1 touchdown. Where he impressed me yesterday, I mean, his passing.
27 of 30.
No.
Wait, what?
23 of 30.
20. Oh, still pretty fucking good.
Pretty good. No picks, 1 touchdown. You know
what he's doing so far?
Hold on. You know what play impressed me the most?
His haircut?
No, well, He looks just like Patrick Mahomes, right? How many times did that crappy, shitty NBC team talk about it? By the way, I don't like ripping on my broadcast brethren. Those guys were not good. Not for a primetime game on TV.
And I only caught clips of it afterwards. Obviously, I was on the sideline the whole time.
Just bad.
I caught several clips of it afterwards, and I was trying to figure out what the heck they were talking about.
The play that impressed me most is when he tucked it and went for 12
and scrambled
and went for 12 yards.
I've never seen that before from him.
I was like, well, if he can do this, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
That is a game changer.
Which again, that's going to open some defensive coordinators' eyes because guess what? Nobody else has seen him do that before. And I'm talking about 4 years of high school football. He avoids the line of scrimmage like the plague.
I mean, he picked up 12, and he was confident running the football, man.
He got a first down, kind of did that half slide, half got chipped on the shoulder, and that was it. Popped up and kept going. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, game over.
Yeah,
this one.
No kidding. You heard Dr. Rob say he wore his G-Defies on Memorial Stadium turf yesterday as he was coming out of the tunnel. I'm wearing my G-Defies tonight. Look at these. These are good-looking G-Defies. The blue and the yellow. That's a good-looking color combination, right?
It's Michigan colors.
I got a great...
Why do you hate Iowa?
I don't hate Iowa. They didn't look good yesterday, though. I got a great Facebook message that said, hey, Trav, what's the Doc Talk code? I thought that was so cool. I wanted to say, well, just go back and watch the podcast so we could get another listen. But I was nice enough, and I said the Doc Talk code is Doc Talk 20. So remember the code, Doc Talk 20, all caps, and it's Doc Talk and the number 20. And you can get $20 off on orders of $100 or more before shipping and taxes. So you can get revolutionary comfort, a wide range of styles, and don't forget the Verso Shock technology is clinically proven to relieve knee pain, transforming harmful shock into positive energy to enhance the comfort and performance.
And if they don't work for you.
And they don't work for everybody. You get 60 days to send these shoes back.
You've got 2 months to try these out. They will refund you. It's the best deal out there.
You stopped by Husker Hounds yesterday.
I did.
Scotty was there too, wasn't he?
So saw Mr. and Mrs. Strunk. Hung out with them.
You bought some gear at Husker Hounds.
Actually, I got one of their shirts on right now.
Somebody wrote in on Facebook right after I posted that picture of you. Were you with some fans yesterday? Is that what that was? Or who were you with?
So it was actually a buddy of mine, Jeremy. So West Side guy. I got introduced to Jeremy my kids went to and do go to West Side. So West Side guy lives in Florida now, and he was up for the game with, oh my gosh, I think Jeremy had about 20 people with him for the game. So they'll go and hit all the classic spots, but they go to Husker Hounds every time they come to Omaha.
And one of the people...
But it was a totally random thing. I walked in, and here's Jeremy, so we're hanging out.
So somebody wrote in and said they went to Husker Hounds for the first time like last week because they were in town for the game. Like they hear us talking about it, so they went to Husker Hounds, and they were blown away. They went to the 84th Street store.
Yep, that's where I went.
That is...
by my house.
That's Husker overload. I mean, that's sensory overload. You walk in, you're like, holy shit.
Rich, I will say, going there on a Saturday morning on a game day before a night game, it was packed. Okay, here's the cool thing. Bud Crawford's in there.
Are you serious?
With his family.
Just shopping?
Just buying Husker gear. But he was on the sideline, so he did
he walked out the tunnel.
So he did the tunnel walk with the team.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going like, I just saw you this morning at Husker Hound.
He's tiny too, isn't he? He's small.
Well, he's about,
I saw him in Dion.
He's not that small.
And when I say when I say small, I mean he's not tall.
I don't know what his height is. I mean, okay, here's the thing. I'm about 6'5".
Yeah.
If you're shorter than me,
you're short.
You're 6'1".
Okay.
If you're taller than me, you're 7'1".
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay.
That's how my brain works.
So Owen's a legit 6'1". I'm 6'1" then?
You're 6'1"?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Probably, I would have put him at like 5'9", 5'10".
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I'm not messing with him.
No.
Okay, here was the cool part. Everybody in the place knew that was him.
And left him alone?
No. Half the stores walking up to him, asking if he would sign autographs, take selfies. Bud Crawford's in there. He's taking selfies and signing autographs for everybody.
That's pretty cool because
it was pretty cool because I'm sitting there going like, okay, this guy's got multiple world titles. Arguably
pound for pound,
the best pound for pound boxer in the world today. It has been for almost a decade. And he's hanging out, Husker Hounds, Omaha, Nebraska. And it wasn't a setup thing where Scott brought him in. He was in there shopping with his family.
So another reason to go to Husker Hounds.
And
you never know who you're going to run into.
I was impressed by Bud because I'm sitting here watching this guy, and he was so nice, and he was so damn gracious with freaking everybody. I thought it was kind of cool.
That is super cool.
Anyway, I love it when I see a celebrity that even I kind of geek out on.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, that's a really nice guy. And he's like, I was like, I'm not going to even bug him at all. But it's like he was signing autographs and taking selfies with everybody. There was like as he went through the store shopping, he had lines surrounding him. It was like a.
But you know what else that does?
I don't know how to
that gets people to go back to Husker Hounds because they'd be like, you never know if Bud Crawford's going to be in there. Never know.
He might. I was in there. And it was funny. So Scott he's got a mic. He's got a mic. Hey guys, 1994 Nebraska All-American offensive tackle Rob Zatechka. And a few people came over to say hi, which 2/3 of the people that came over to say hi were actually people I knew.
Hi, Rob. Beers in the driveway later on?
Exactly. And then Scott comes over. I'm talking to Scott. He's like, he goes, Bud was way more popular than you.
And you said, no shit.
And I was like, I totally get it. He's got world title belts. I got a national title ring. That's it.
Also, if you need a lawyer, check out Connor Orr, our resident NIL expert. Connor's been on this podcast several times as we dig into the world of NIL, which I don't know if I like 1890 on the field. I'm just saying that. I think it's a little weird.
Little bit. I mean, it's the dynamic you live in.
It is. I get it. It's just you want it. And I'm not one of these, God, I wish college football was like it used to be. But I think that's crossing a line. I haven't come to a full conclusion yet, but it was just weird to see 1890 on the field.
So let me ask you this. Look at Iowa.
Yeah.
So you've got the Swarm.
And the Swarm Collective is doing like roundup at the concession stand. So if you go buy a beer, buy a hot dog, and it's $8.54, you can round up to $9, and that extra money goes to the Swarm Collective.
If you saw alongside
if you saw the Swarm,
I
wouldn't like
CEO along the sideline on the field.
I don't think I'd like it. Same with, if Iowa State had the We Will or Iowa had the Swarm on the field, I'd be like, yeah, I get it, but I don't know if that's the place for it.
Okay,
The field is sacred to me.
Okay, let's take this another step.
Okay.
Well, that's a good question.
Let me finish the read first.
I was going to ask about the NFL thing, but okay, do this, and then I got a question.
So when you need a lawyer, call Connor today at the Orr Law Group. That's a general practice firm that can help any type of litigation. So give him a call at 402-408-6488. That's 402-408-6488. Or email him at connor@orlawgrp.com, or you can always visit the website orlawgrp.com. All right, what's your question?
I guess I was going to say, you look at NFL stadiums.
Yeah.
You've got sponsorship signs up all over the place.
I think if you had
I'm trying to remember if you look at an NFL field, if there's any kind of sponsorship or logo on the field, and I don't think there is actually, now that I think about it, because the NFL, once you get down to the nitty gritty of the football itself, the only logo that they want you to see, it's the individual teams or it's the NFL emblem.
And you know why that is? Because if you purchase a logo on the field, that's not part of the NFL package of advertising. Think about it. You're dealing with a TV package there that is completely different, right? So the NFL is going to say, they're not a corporate sponsor. Because is Budweiser the NFL sponsor? I think it is. But if you put Modelo on there, the NFL is going to go, oh, no. It's kind of like how stupid it is in Lincoln with Pinnacle Bank Arena, but yet it's First National Bank Court. Makes zero sense.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it does. So when I saw the 1890, I was like, I get it.
Yeah, it's just on the flip side, at some point, I do truly think it's all going to come in-house.
Well, I think, and now that the House settlement has been kicked back to say, hey, y'all need to go figure some stuff out.
Yeah, they got to buff some stuff
So the best part might be get rid of collectives, go to the professional model, get the collective bargaining, you cut a contract with the university, and all the money's coming from in-house.
Which honestly, what'll be interesting to me is if that is truly the direction we're moving. And every expert we've talked to, including Connor Orr, has said that's probably the direction we're moving. Who's going to be the team? Who's going to be the university that says, hey, let's do this right off the bat. Let's be the team that does that first, and we're going to kind of lead the charge on that. We're going to be the group that brings this in house.
I can narrow it down.
Gets on top of this before anybody else.
I can narrow it down. It's going to come out of the SEC or the Big Ten because they only have the money to do it. They're the $100 million schools.
Yeah. That's not narrowing it down, Travis.
Well. I'm eliminating the ACC and the Big 12.
That's almost 40 schools.
You're right.
When you're like, I'm going to narrow this down, I thought you were going to say, like, it's going to be Nebraska, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama. Maybe Georgia. I was looking for like 5 or 6.
Those schools aren't going to do it because they don't have to. It's going to have to be somebody else.
That's kind of an interesting take.
Yeah. To me, your Vanderbilts or your Northwesterns are like, we're going to go. We don't have a collective, so we're just going to do this all in-house because we got our $100 million paycheck, and we're going to figure out a way to do this in-house. So it would probably be one you least expect.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking of this in the sense of who is going to be the institution that does have a collective that moves in that direction.
I can't answer that yet.
I could see Nebraska being one of the first half dozen.
I don't. Well, maybe, but the 1890's got a lot of pull down there, which it should at this point. I'm not afraid of the pull. When I see it on the field, I'm like, that's kind of a sacred place. Tom Osborne's name on the field, right?
I'll give you that.
And where they put it, it's not even like in the white stripe where it's like boom, right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh.
So were the Greenpeacers out protesting Saturday in Lincoln because they let the fucking balloons go? I thought there was a helium shortage and they couldn't let balloons off anymore.
Okay, the helium shortage got resolved 3 years ago.
But then they're like, oh, we're not going to let balloons go. And then they said, fuck it.
We're going to kill the turtles.
Fuck it. We're going to kill turtles, birds, whatever, because what do we need to... Frank Solich is back in the house. What do we need more? You need balloons.
You do got to keep in mind latex is actually an organic substance.
There you go. That's from a doctor.
That shit breaks down pretty quick.
So there you go. Yeah, well, I saw the balloons go. I'm like, look at the balloons. Did you notice it too when they let him go?
That was kind of fun. That's the kind of thing as a kid you're always thinking about. You go to Husker games, balloons.
So I didn't know if the Greenpeace was out protesting because, oh my God, you're letting the balloons go. Super cool when the balloons go.
I saw no protesters.
Well, that's good. That's really, really good. Up next for Nebraska going to be Northern Iowa. Nebraska going to beat Northern Iowa. I'm just going to say this.
That was a closer game than I thought against St. Thomas.
I talked to Mark Farley on last Thursday, and if you guys want to hear from Mark Farley, he's on my radio show every Thursday at about 7:24. You can find KXNO Morning Rush on iHeartRadio. But Mark Farley joins me every week. Mark Farley's a good dude. Everybody in Nebraska would love Mark Farley.
Great guy, great
dude,
coach,
great dude. Do you
know what Mark Farley does?
He wins.
He churns out O-linemen.
He does. And really good O-linemen.
They put out O-linemen in the NFL like nobody's business.
Now, Nebraska's going to win this game. I'm just saying, don't take it for granted.
Agreed.
And that's all I'm going to say is that this team, defensively, they're still rebuilding. Offensively, they've got a really good running back. Good running back.
They're a solid team. I mean, and I always worry about these letdown. Because here's the thing. This is a classic letdown situation. You've got a big win, not necessarily against a good team, but against somebody it's a team that you really hate. So it's a big win in that sense.
And there was a lot of emotion in that stadium last week.
There was so much emotion. And here's the thing, Nebraska, they're going to, the game's already technically sold out. All the tickets have been sold.
Yeah.
So the game's sold out. The question is, are fans going to show up? Are you going to be a little bit loud? Are you going to care that you've got this team? I actually think people are going to be kind of excited. And part of it is, it's only game 3 of the Dylan Raiola era. We're going to see what he's going to be able to continue to do. You've got this new core wide receivers that you're going to want to see how those guys are going to do. You've got Dowdle at running back. Kid's running hard.
You're going to see him in the
want to see him
Doc's Diagnosis presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, because the Doc's Diagnosis will be coming out. You're going to see some of that running game. He runs hard, man.
He does, and he had the fumble last week. It was great seeing him back out there again. He runs really, really hard. We'll have to kind of go back and double check some film and see exactly where it happened, but apparently he broke Shiloh Sanders' arm on a play. So,
oh well, it happens.
There's like no sympathy.
I have zero sympathy, right?
The kid runs like a freaking truck. It's fun seeing that. It's fun seeing a guy who gets the ball, and when that defensive back, when that linebacker comes up, he puts his head down and goes. But again, you've got 2 or 3 running backs for Nebraska that are going to be able to shoulder that load. And again, that was something that I really emphasized last week in week 1, that you had 4 running backs who, the top 4 rushers were all running backs. We just haven't seen that for a while.
It's good to see, isn't it?
And I think I don't think that gets made a big a deal enough of, because it's one of these things that if you can take that kind of pressure off of a quarterback, where the running backs are going to be the guys that are going to shoulder that load. It's a game changer, and that's kind of what Nebraska football sort of built itself on. We had these amazing option quarterbacks. Mickey could run, Tommy could run.
Let me tell you why it doesn't get enough, because people like to see that 100 mark. Iowa's deep at, and I'm going to use Iowa as a comparison. Iowa and Nebraska are very similar. They're deep at running back, right? Iowa's got 4 really good running backs. Caleb Johnson goes for 187 yards yesterday. People go, 187? Wow, that's great.
Yeah, how did you lose that game?
Don't even get me started. How do you lose? Your offense isn't very good, and it just disappeared in the second half. And then you throw a pick that leads to another touchdown.
Okay, can I make a point here?
Sure.
You don't have a running back that goes 187 and still say you've got an offense that's not very good. Your offense is pretty fucking good if your running back's going 180.
Okay, your quarterback's not very good, and he disappeared.
Thank you.
And he disappeared.
That I will give you.
Okay. Nebraska has a great quarterback. Iowa has a shit quarterback. I mean, Iowa's got a decent offensive line, really good running backs, shit quarterback.
So let's talk about Dillon a little bit here. So you've got a guy that I think game one, this was kind of his coming out party.
Yeah.
It's UTEP. He did what everybody expected him to do. He did what he was supposed to do against UTEP. Nebraska, collectively as an offense, as a team, did what they were supposed to do against UTEP. Dillon comes out in this game. He was what was the stat? 23
of 30.
So 23 of 30. That's pretty freaking solid.
187, 1 TD.
No picks.
Able to tuck and run.
That's a good night. And it's and the tuck and run, I mean, it's hard for me to make too big of a deal about that. And the reason I say that is when you look at his high school statistics, 4 years of high school, 4 different schools, different coaching staffs, different players around him. The stats are almost mind-numbingly similar. It's so consistent, it's brutal. He was like 30 TDs, 1 to 3 interceptions, hardly ever crossed the line of scrimmage rushing. I think he averaged like 220 rushing yards a season. So, I mean, he's basically going for whatever that is, like 15 to 20 yards a game tops. That's it. If we get that out, I always thought if we get that out of him at Nebraska, we're going to win a lot of games.
I think you're going to win a lot of games with him. It doesn't matter.
And so far, that's what we're seeing.
Now, what makes this game against Northern Iowa intriguing, it would have. Joe Gans was an assistant under Mark Farley for a long time. Joe Gans is now at East Tennessee, so he's not going to be here. But Troy Dannon, athletic director at Nebraska, who's been on the podcast, go check it out.
I did talk to Troy this weekend, yeah.
Did he tell me hi?
He did actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
He talked about being on the podcast, and
but Troy was at Northern Iowa. That was his first gig. So him and Mark Farley have a relationship. So that's an interesting dynamic there. But I'm just telling you, Nebraska's going to win, but I think it's going to be a better game than most people think. I think people are going, an FCS school, it's going to be a walk in the park. Do not think this is going to be a walk in the park.
I do think Northern Iowa is going to show up to play.
Yes.
Farley's going to have them ready.
Go back and look at their previous games against Division I schools. They're close.
It's not Farley's best team. This isn't a coaching thing. This is just...
They're young.
The guys that he's got on the roster right now, this is a little bit of a building.
This is a better offense that he's had in a long time. Defensively, they're young. He's still trying to find... And yesterday did kind of surprise me going up to St. Thomas and having a close game. That one kind of surprised me. Nebraska not into the top 25 yet. They're going to be there before the end of the year. What?
Today... They bumped
And the coaches or the AP?
Both.
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. 24 coaches, 23
How did
AP.
I miss that?
That was like late afternoon.
I know. No, but I looked at the poll before I came, and for some reason.
Late.
Oh, man. I did not see that.
Why do you hate Nebraska?
I don't. Man, why do you have to pick on me like that? You're taking shots at me on Twitter all the time.
Did I take a shot at you this week?
Yeah, you called me a Cyclone fan and all that stuff.
You're
right. Nebraska 23. So that's my bad. I missed that totally.
Yeah, I thought it was 24.
23 in the AP. Again, doesn't matter.
24 coaches.
Doesn't matter. These polls do not matter. Remember that. The only poll that matters.
I'm almost. If you would have asked me, would you like to see Nebraska in the polls or not?
Well, I'll ask you.
My answer is no.
Lay low until you can't?
Exactly. Radar, fly under it.
Because the only poll that matters comes out in November. That's the only poll that matters. Exactly. I apologize to everybody that I screwed that up. For some reason, I just glossed over them, and that's my bad.
Iowa's still getting votes, though.
Still getting votes, but them and Iowa State switched. The big thing is the SEC now has 6 of the top 7 spots.
That's impressive. Which, okay, keep in mind, they're pulling Oklahoma and Texas over.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Texas looked good.
Texas looked really good.
They looked really good. So, do you know who can coach pretty well?
Steve Sarkisian.
Steve can coach. You know what? I'm not a big fan of the guy. The guy can coach, though. And Texas is playing really, really good football right now. Defensively, this is the best Texas has looked in 20 years.
And Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback. And don't forget, Arch Manning is his backup.
That's what cracks me up is you're talking about arguably the biggest high school recruit. Well, I shouldn't say that because Dylan was a pretty big recruit.
He was, but he didn't have the name recognition that Arch Manning does.
Dude, he was probably the greatest high school recruit in terms of name cachet in the last 30 years. I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're Peyton Manning's nephew.
Yeah.
I mean, you lay it all out there.
Honestly, it was Eli Manning, and after Eli, it was him.
Yeah.
It was Arch. So, yeah, it is interesting. That's going to be kind of a funny dynamic. So my wife's cousin, Bo, has a podcast. Basically, my cousin-in-law, Bo, has this, but it's UT. It's Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's got the Doc Talk Sports, except it's UT.
Is he a doc?
He's not.
Well, then they don't have this.
You know, technically, no. He's a pretty bright dude. I think he was a finance guy.
Yeah, but nobody's smarter than you. You've even said that.
I don't know. Bo's pretty smart. He was a golfer. Actually, he was a golfer for UT. So, it's kind of a fun podcast.
Do they drink beer? Then it's not as good as podcast.
They do that.
And by the way, I'm going to drink beer before the end of the season. Rob's down 3 tonight. Where are these? Are these from Jason?
Okay, I've got 1.5. So this is from Jason in Pennsylvania. So I got oh my God, it's a Penn State beer. State College Fan Zone IPA.
Look at that. The one you haven't opened yet is the...
and this is, which by the way, this is turning into my favorite non-Nebraska beer ever. Ellicottville Brewing.
Ellicottville?
Ellicottville Brewing.
Okay.
They're out of Little Valley, New York.
Nobody wants to touch the white chocolate and macadamia and golden stout. And I don't know what a golden stout is, but...
I would assume a lighter stout.
Yeah.
So this is...
I know that.
So this is Great Lakes Imperial IPA. Great. I'm guessing it's out of Cleveland, Ohio. So Great Lakes out of Cleveland. Did you watch the Cleveland game tonight?
They got beat, man. And here's the weird thing.
They got brutalized.
Who was I talking to?
Dallas.
Oh, you know what? I was talking to Clete Blakeman, and he thought...
Wait, when did you talk to Clete?
I talked to Clete a week ago on Thursday. I was emceeing the Heart Ministry Center's big fundraiser for the Heart Ministry Center.
I'm about 99.9% sure Clete was... officiating.
He was because I asked
Dallas,
him
Cleveland
because
game.
I asked him what game he was doing.
Okay, so I'm so
yes, it wasn't this last Thursday. It was a week ago Thursday.
Yeah, so I watched him today, and I'm like, pretty sure that's Clete at Cleveland.
And he thought Cleveland was good. He'd been doing Cleveland's pre-train or
like scrimmages.
Yeah, so he'd been embedded with Cleveland, and he thought they were going to be pretty good. He goes. And this is the funny thing. You can watch practice. You can watch preseason. Once you start playing the game and Dak Prescott signs a $245 million deal.
This weekend,
Dak said, I better go earn the money.
Yeah.
I better go earn the money. What do you think of that play in the Chiefs game that the Ravens, I mean, it's the right call. Man, if you're a fan base.
The receiver catches it.
You lose by a toenail. Yeah.
It was the right call.
Do you like the college game with 1 foot, or do you like the pro game with 2 foot?
I like the 1 foot.
So do I.
Yeah. Get 1 foot in. I love it.
I'm kind of with you on that. So,
yeah, I would rather see. I do think the defense on the whole has the advantage. So it's one of those, give the alignment, give the ability to use your hands. Give that receiver, just get 1 foot in. I think it makes it more fun. Opens it up.
So coming up on the YouTube channel, you're going to be able to check out the Doc's Diagnosis presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. If you need a mortgage, if you're searching for your first home or your next home or your dream home or looking to refinance your current mortgage, choose a lender that you can trust. That is important. And the local mortgage experts at Centrist Federal Credit Union understand that, because it's not just a mortgage, it's your home. You can call 402-334-7000 or stop by any one of the 15 branches throughout Nebraska. Don't forget, federally insured by NCUA, an equal housing lender. But if you see plays, we got 2 running plays for Nebraska this week. If you see plays in college football that you would like to see, and
it does not have to be a Nebraska game?
No, it doesn't have to be a Nebraska. We have 2 Nebraska plays this week, but I have no problem mixing it up. I mean, our most watched diagnosis is not even a Nebraska play. And I think our second one was Shedeur Sanders from last week, right? I mean, so we're off to a good start, but we want to look at college football in general. So doctalksports@gmail.com. That's doctalksports@gmail.com. That is the email. If you have a question for Dr. Rob, or if you'd like to see a play diagnosed, we can also pull that up. So, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the audio podcast on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, on Podbean. And don't forget, we also have, in addition to Doc's Diagnosis, Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock live. It's Behind the Point Spread, a live call-in show about college football betting. We've thrown an NFL game as well as Scott Spreitzer.
Most information you will get in a 30-minute period.
And we have fun. And we have a lot of fun with Scott Spreitzer, which is really, really cool. And he's a Nebraska fan. He's from Omaha, but he's been in Vegas for, 40 years now.
Bellevue.
Look at you.
Bellevue.
Look at you drawing the lines. I like that. For Dr. Rob Zatechka, for Owen Justice, I'm Travis Justice. We will talk to you next week on the Doc Talk Podcast.